Welcome, everybody, to HR Tech Talks. I'm George Rogers, and I'm glad to be your host today. We have a very special guest who is actually one of our HR Tech Award winners. They're doing some incredible work that I know that you are going to find value from today. Speaking of HR Tech Awards, you can now go online to hrtechawards.org to do your nomination and submissions that are live for later this spring. We'll be making those announcements as well. Right now, I really want to get into this conversation. So please also remember that as we're getting these conversations and we're discussing with this interview, feel free to leave a comment, participate in the conversation, ask questions. If you're watching this live, we'll try to comment and discuss those things as we go. If you're watching this later, we will come in and make a comment still. I like to come back and plug in and connect if you have any questions as well. I want to go ahead and bring on our guest. Our guest here is the co-founder and president. His name is Sri. How are you doing, sir? I'm glad to have you here at HR Tech Talks.
Yeah, thank you, George, for having me over. I really appreciate it. I'm good. It's been a busy start to the year, so
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to this interesting year you have in front of us.
Awesome. Would you please, just for a minute, just take a couple of minutes to talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do with Engagedly?
Yeah, so my name is Sri Chellappa. I'm basically I would like to call myself a creative tech entrepreneur with background in multiple areas. I also dabbled in film and movies as well in my life in the past. So it gives me a little bit of a unique perspective when I look at technology and working with people together. So I am the co-founder and president of Engagedly, which is a employee engagement, performance, and employee development platform built for the hybrid workforce. So that's we've been at it for about 8 years, almost 8 years now. I still like to think of ourselves as a startup, even though we are fairly well established. We have clients in over 40 different countries, almost 150 employees globally as well, and we are headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome. A little bit more about Engagely. What kind of problems is Engagely platform software? What are y'all solving for clients? What in detail could you provide that so people that are listening now knows exactly what Engagely is all about and what the services that you're providing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when people look at how do I build a high performance, highly engaged, highly skilled teams in my organization, they're looking at various aspects, and they're looking for. Sometimes I feel like they're looking for a silver bullet, and I don't think there's such thing exists. Right? You have to look at different aspects of an entire employee experience in their journey from, hire to, as part of their organization. So Engagely provides a set of tools for organizations that are forward thinking in that sense to really build this high performing, highly engaged culture within the organization, because we focus on not just one aspect but multiple aspects of the employee experience, right? Which is the employee engagement tools, employee survey tools, employee performance, goal setting, employee learning and development, mentoring and coaching. We look at all those different aspects. So because we know that an employee's uh, performance and their development is correlated with their overall engagement within the organization. So we need to look at all those things together, and that's what Engagely's promise to our customers is, that we will look at a holistic approach to employee engagement, development, performance, rather than a singular approach to looking at only one aspect of an employee experience.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I know that in some recent studies that we've done over at Lighthouse Research and Advisory, we talked about the engagement and creating that culture, workplace culture, and how all that is affected. We talk about retention that has been at the top of conversation, and growth and development has been at the top of conversation. That psychological sense of belonging, we defined it as, when leaders are connected to their employees, and those employees feel like they are accepted, appreciated, and really connected with their leader. There's a lot of engagement there. Can you discuss in detail what you believe drives employee engagement, employee retention, and that growth?
Yeah, so that's multiple questions actually, but I think the main thing. Let's talk about employee engagement. What drives employee engagement is, let's just define what employee engagement is. When an is engaged, they feel they're part of the broader organizational mission, and they want to put in discretionary effort. They don't want to just be a person who checks in and checks out and punches the clock, and phones it in, if you will. It's a person who's saying, what do I need to do more to build better outcomes for my team, for my peers and my organization. So they're always thinking about the bigger picture rather than just putting in their time. So that's a highly engaged employee. So what builds a highly engaged employee is a lot of the things you talk about. They feel that they are appreciated, they feel they're respected, their opinion matters, they
Yeah.
have a sense of community at work. And this is an important one, the community part, because we spend, and this is the thing that it's my soapbox. I talk about it all the time in all the podcasts and in my other speaking engagements as well. We spend our best years and our best hours in the day at work, for the most part, at least in the Western culture we do, right?
Yeah.
You are spending your best waking hours at work, and by the time you quote unquote get home, now you're working from home, so it's all home for many people.
Yeah.
You're not spending your necessarily your best hours there, right? So why not make so that's why this whole you know difference between work and home kind of becomes blur, because it's all part of your life at this point. And so having a good strong community where you feel like you're not only just going to work, but you're actually enjoying that work, you're enjoying the people you're working with, you're enjoying your manager, you're enjoying, if you are a manager, you're enjoying the people you're leading. And all of that matters. So that's why the sense of community is important to me. And I think it's important for overall longer term employee wellness and retention and overall productivity of the employee as well. um, Employee development is an important aspect because there are two reasons, right? If you look at the poll that Pew Research did a few months ago, I was looking at it, like what drove great resignation. You would think it was pay. Pay was one aspect of it, but it was not the top. Actually, it was one of the top three. Two of them, one of them was about flexibility at work, which is, I think, that was the number one, I believe. The
Yeah.
number two felt like there was no more growth available or development for them in the organization. And I think pay was probably number three, if I remember right. And then, so this Pew Research was very eye-opening because it's not fundamentally very different. We all know this, at least the people who really study this know this, that pay and compensation is not a key driver of retention or engagement or even high performance. Actually, it is all the other aspects, which are actually in many ways not that expensive to do. It just requires a thoughtful, deliberate approach to do it. So anyway, to a long and short of to answer your question, all of those things drive better engagement, better better employees with skills, and a highly productive team. And when employees feel appreciated and they're focused on development, they're going to give their best.
Yeah. We some of the data that to go with what you're saying, that we found 67% of workers have left their job sometime in their career because of the lack of career growth.
Yes.
There was that development, the lack thereof, and really that's what a lot of people are focusing on now, right? They're focused on the growth. Pay is not necessarily the primary anymore. It's how do I develop to that next level, and be able to retain that and actually see the plan and the solution. What advice would you give employers to help improve some of their hiring and retention efforts? Can we discuss that a little bit and give us some insight on that and how Engagely can help support that as well?
Yeah. So I'll talk about hiring after I talk about retention first, because right now, I don't think our organization are necessarily in a hiring spree right now. A lot of companies have frozen or tapped down on their hiring a little bit, at least in the tech industry that I am part of. So retention becomes very important, because if you are, especially if you're not hiring, and on top of that, if you're letting people go because maybe you overhired a year ago, and now you realize that your growth did not support that hiring plan, so you may have to let people go. um, you don't want to get your best people to leave behind them either. You want to make sure you have a really clearly articulated approach on, first of all, why you made the decision to let people go, and it's a definitive decision in the sense that it's not like an ongoing saga where every month you're letting X% people go. That happens a lot, by the way, more often than you think. It needs to be once and done. It needs to be decisive when you do that, and it needs to be clearly articulated on the why we did it, and what action, and also convince the employees who are in the organization of why this will be the last one, at least for the time being, or at least for the foreseeable future, until there's some other macroeconomic issues or other headwinds that might come to your organization. Hopefully that's not the case. So that is very important. Now, the ones who are left, they are hopefully are your best performers, and you're not just willy nilly let people go based on just the salary or based on just a department. So it needs to be obviously well thought out on, and where do you do that. But there are people who are your retention, uh, for the people who are in your organization. You want to make sure you still invest in them. You want to still invest in their development. You appreciate them. You're giving them challenging roles. You're clearly articulating their goals and the overall strategic objectives of the organization and how their goals align to that. So those things are very important. And so there's no confusion around where their future looks like. So uncertainty breeds, lack of psychological safety, which will ultimately affect their productivity and ultimately retention as well. Now, but coming back to hiring, a lot of organizations still hiring. We still are hiring as well. The thing about hiring is you obviously need to have a good reputation in the market. So the people who leave are also still your ambassadors in some ways. You don't want them to go out and badmouth your organization. So it needs to be done thoughtfully and respectfully, right? You don't fire people over email. You call them or you do a Zoom call. At least in our case, where a lot of people are remote. That's important because you're the assumption is you're still going to grow sometime in the future, so you will have to hire again. Um, so that's the important one. The second part about hiring, which I had a great conversation with Lou Adler at one point, who's considered one of the leading thought leaders in the hiring and talent acquisition, and he was talking about something which is very near and dear to how I like to think about it, which is performance based hiring. You really want to understand exactly what goals and outcomes are you achieving with this with the person you're looking to hire. So that's very clearly articulated, and these are the outcomes I need in this role. This is the performance, and what does success look like. So if you look at a lot of job descriptions, and I've looked at a lot of them on LinkedIn and Indeed and other places, many of them are such vague. It's just a litany of all the different bullet points on what a customer service manager, for example, might look like, right? But it's very very little about what does a success look like. How do you measure that? What are the key skill sets that drive that performance and success? Those things are important as well. So I think hiring, and when you do that well, um, you also need to look at, I believe, what you're hiring for, not just for today but for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
can you get somebody who is good for what you need today, but of the changing environment, and environment changes a lot, right? And whether it's things like marketing or technology, all those things change a lot. So the role may be completely different in 3 years from now. So will that person be able to adapt and grow into the new role? So that's an important attribute you're looking for as well. At least that's what I like to look for, to say, as we grow, I don't want a place where the position moves away from the individual, and then we have a situation where that person is no longer a fit for the organization or for that role anymore.
Yeah, that's so good. That's important too. I know that a lot of people, there's always been that balance of, trying to find the A candidate. I always told myself, I was in the retail space for many years, and one of the challenges we always had was, sometimes it was finding people that were tech minded, and then it was finding people that really, we use the word fit, right? But then we want to add. We want people that can add to our culture, add to our engagement, add to our systems and processes. And what does that look like, and how much technology do we use versus the human aspect, and having that balance. um, what is your thoughts there, as far as when it comes to hiring, how much technology to use versus how much you determine based on the human instincts? Are you hiring for character? Are you hiring for knowledge? And especially in the tech space that you're in as well.
Well, I don't know if this is something anybody else has talked about. or at least the way I coin it, is called the two A's: aptitude and attitude. So I look for aptitude and attitude. To me, they're both very important. Actually, attitude is even more important, because you can train a lot of people on subject matter, right? If, for example, we are an HR tech, I could probably train somebody on technology. I can train them on HR practices to some extent, but I cannot train them on attitude. I cannot train them to show up where they had a really bad client call, to still show up for the meeting and come up with a plan and not be a downer, right? So that kind of attitude, right? Or being able to figure out how to solve problems, even if it is not necessarily their specific role to solve the problem, because they're looking at the bigger picture. That's that whole aspect of discretionary effort. So attitude. Aptitude is, can they adapt and grow into changing roles? Because what I need today from that role is going to be different than what I will need a year or two out, especially in the technology space we are in. Somebody who's doing, if you look at marketing, for example, how marketing was 8 or 10 years ago is very different than the marketing today.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that used to work back then don't work anymore. We have to look at it differently. So the same thing applies, I think, across the board for many of the roles. And I think, so that becomes important. Now, you talk about technology. There's another aspect which I would put it in the aptitude column, which is the TQ, technology quotient. And the TQ is kind of important now, where some of the best salespeople and some of the best marketing people are highly technical and highly data driven. They are more technical and data driven than some of the engineers I have actually met. Uh, and they can work their way. They can actually code. They can build these interesting Excel and macro based tables. They can build websites, and they can also think creatively about marketing and sales. So to me, the TQ part is very important. If somebody is afraid to log into your CRM and afraid that if they click this button, they might blow up the software, I think that's going to be a problem for many organizations. They need to really change that thought process. I think TQ is an extremely important aspect to have, at least for organizations like us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the talent landscape has really changed, right? It's a lot different. How do organizations need to prepare in the ever changing, talent landscape, to be agile in talent management, and finding solutions there as well?
So that there's um, the best way to get somebody up to speed, to me, is internal coaching and mentoring. You cannot. It's very hard, especially if you're a new hire. um, and let's say you want to get that person up to speed up on how you run your business, how you work your processes, and how does things get done within the organization. You can have all kinds of documentation you want, you can have online training and all of that, but nothing is going to be more effective than having a coach or a mentor, or both, that is not your manager, right? Who can guide you through the process, who can guide you through different tools the organization uses, who can guide you through who are the key influencers in your organization that can help you, getting things done within the organization, and then get you up to speed on, on the product that you're selling, or the solution you're selling, or the services you're selling, things of this nature. So I think that's very important. It's very much a peer led, or a mentor, or a coach led aspect. I think that's a great way to get people up to speed. Uh, and then external training is also important from time to time. For example, lately we've been seeing this big surge in interest in AI, especially with this whole chat gpt, and the chat gpt 4 that's coming out. How do you learn about that? There's a lot of forums online that people can read, and then you can create internal discussion groups to have their discussion around that. I don't think there's any formal training per se on that, but there's enough people researching and posting stuff on it that you can actually learn from those aspects as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, Sri, is there anything that you want to share or add on to this conversation with us today?
Yeah, I think one thing I would like to add is HR. I feel for the first time, after all this hype, that I feel like HR is going to actually get impacted by AI for real, right? We've been talking about AI in HR and AI in general for years and years and years. Obviously, AI has a good good impact on other industries like automotive industry and in robotics and things like that. Um, but I think this is an aspect where I think it's going to touch everyone directly in the next 12 to 18 months. If it's right now, it's like a toy, but I see a lot of really good applications out there, and we are obviously taking a big investment in AI as well within our product. So you will see a lot of new things come out in Engagely, where we are using AI to really help employees and managers and HR make better decisions, be better coaches, and then also help them with their own career and development.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. AI is definitely coming to the forefront. I know Ben Eubanks has written a book on
Yes.
artificial intelligence for HR. So nice plug there for him as well. But yeah, AI is definitely leading the way, and it's technology. You got to be able to adapt and get ahead of the game. For those people who are joining us today, Sri, how can someone connect or learn more about you and Engagely?
Well, I am very active on LinkedIn. So Shrikant Chellappa, co-founder, president of Engagedly. Just follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also learn more about our solution on engagedly.com, where there's plenty of information about how we can help organizations.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming here and sharing, having a good discussion with us today. We're looking forward to more about Engagely. And if you want more information, we'll drop a link in the comments for you to be able to click on that, as well as connect with him on LinkedIn. Thank you again, Sri, for your time today, sir.
It's been a pleasure, George. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Engagely and the co-founder, president, Sharif, thank you for your time again. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Just remember, you can always jump online at hrtechtalks.org to get notified of new episodes every week from myself or Ben. And also remember that HR Tech Awards is now live. You can go there and submit your nomination at hrtechawards.org/nominate. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here at HR Tech Talks. I'm George Rogers. Until next time.